Destination Health. I talked a little bit about the struggle and the growth, and I love all of that. And another one of my challenges every Wednesday, I have so much to talk about. I could come on the air and talk for the entire 3 hours. Really, it wouldn't be hard at all. But I also see so many great questions and people I want to help. So it's one of those good frustrations. Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Illinois. Ben, welcome to the program.
Morning. I tried getting in yesterday, but I just didn't get in time, I guess. And the reason I'm calling is I got a keto meter, for my ketones.
Okay,
and
which one?
I was wondering if the Keto Mojo, because I was wanting to get the one that you have, but I think you said it does ketones, correct?
I have the Keto Mojo as well. I have just about every meter on the market that can read ketones at any time to stay tested. I like the Keto Mojo a lot.
Okay. Well, I tested it this weekend. It was 2.5.
Okay.
And I went down to 1.9, and then I was up to around 3.1. But what kind of got me, I was wondering if this is a good thing or not. I woke up and I tested it the other day after being asleep for like 10 hours, and it was 3.1.
Yeah,
and so I didn't.
Your numbers are excellent. You don't need to change anything about your macros. Your macros are working. You are in full-blown ketosis. There's no question about that. Even if you wake up one day or you decide to test it in the afternoon and you see something like 0.6, don't worry about it. The ketone levels do not stay consistent in our body. They are all over the board, and I'm not even sure if anybody has a really good grasp about why. We use them for energy, we create more, but as long as you are pretty consistently seeing above 1.0, then you're in ketosis. Your body is producing ketones. I haven't found any big advantage to producing more ketones. Like if I'm at 1 or 1.5, it's ideal. I don't do anything to try to get it higher than that. I can. I can fast a little bit. I can cut even more on the carbs, and I can get up into the 2s. 3 is almost impossible for me. I've done it a couple times, but I don't work to get there because I don't see any difference. I don't feel any different at 3 than I do at 1.5. So your numbers are solid, and you are clearly in ketosis.
And I also took my blood glucose, and I was telling my mom about it, and she goes, "Oh, that's a little too low." It was right around 75.
So let me give the general rule of thumb here. Too low only occurs when you feel symptoms of low blood sugar. If you are not feeling symptoms of low blood sugar, which are clear, and you'll know it, nausea, headache, we could go on and on. You feel really, really bad when your blood sugar construction ahead is too low. Most of the time, the only way you get really low blood sugar is either you are very, very insulin resistant or you're on medication. It's pretty tough. The body won't normally produce a low blood sugar condition on its own. It happens with medication. That's why all the warnings on diabetic drugs about watch out for this and watch out for that. So 75 is clearly not too low. If you told me your blood sugar was 55 and you felt fine and didn't have any symptoms, I'd say don't worry about it. If you're on medications, you need to watch low blood sugar. It can be very, very dangerous. But eating keto without medication, I've never really seen anybody have so low a blood sugar that it would be dangerous.
I started the 1st of November, and I'm already down 25 pounds. So I'm going along pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm starting to listen to some books. I'm in the middle of Eat Fat, Get Thin, and I just finished up the other one that's on your website. That's also on the NTA's website, to be a practitioner. And I can't remember, it's the facts about fat and butter. It was a really interesting book. Both of them have really opened my eyes. And I'm
Good.
trying to get to the point where I can actually take the course. I'm going to start talking to my company and see if there's a way they can help me out to be able to be a practitioner, because 4 weekends, long weekends, that's going to be a little rough for me.
So let me give you some advice. I'm glad you asked. The NTA has two courses, NTC and NTP. NTP is what I went through, nutritional therapy practitioner. My son Michael's an NTP. We have lots of listeners. Sarah, who is a big part of our team, she's an NTP. She still drives full time. Kim, who was part of our team and part of the show, Kim went through the NTC instead. I highly recommend the NTC program for most drivers. There's only one difference. And what I do today, I didn't need the NTP, because the NTP, the only thing you learn different on those weekends is the hands-on physical examination of a body. So if I were in a full-time practice and people came to see me, I would use those hands-on skills that I learned. But we've been helping lots and lots, thousands, tens of thousands of people, and we never use those skills. The NTC, you learn every the same except that hands-on. And that's why you have to go to the live weekends, because you have to physically be there to do it. So the NTC is now 100% online. You don't go anywhere for a weekend at all.
That's what I'm wanting to do, is I'm wanting to help my company out by, helping drivers that want to do this. And I'm wanting to start doing it to my friends and family and my community.
Continue on this road for 4.6 miles.
See, will I be able to still do that?
Well, think about how we help people here. And we only use the skills we would have learned in the NTC program. Since I got out of the course, I haven't done a single hands-on examination, and I don't plan on doing any. That's not our model. So again, it's a lot less money, and you don't have to worry about those live weekends. I would highly recommend you just take the NTC.
Well, I'm going to try and get that taken care of pretty quick, and hopefully I can join your program when you get it.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'd love, and really for us, I am having the people that do want to work with us, we are having them take the NTC. You don't spend the extra money, the extra time, the long weekends, because that's not our model. We're not going to be doing hands-on physical examinations. We can help a lot of people without that. I'm going to take another call here. Let's go to Utah. Brenda, welcome to the program.
Morning, Kevin. Hey, quick question. I got some of that Histoplex because I was having the same issues you were having with itchy nose, itchy eyes.
Yeah.
And I started out with 2, but then I wasn't really feeling anything. So then I'm taking 4 now in the morning, but I still got a really bad itchy nose. I mean, I go into a sneezing attack every time I breathe through my nose. Can I take more than that, or should I split them up during the day?
I would split them up during the day, but you can clearly take more. One of the things we don't talk a lot about on this show is the fact that these are supplements and nutrients, not drugs. I don't want people taking, 15, but you can clearly double and triple the dosages of most of these supplements, especially in the beginning. We call it front loading. So in the beginning, sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you've got to keep upping the dose until you get that relief. And then you can either level off or even back off. Sometimes we just have to build up some of those nutrients in your body. And again, because they're nutrients, the only downside to taking too many would be cost. And I don't want you to waste a bunch of them. But you will find that taking more of these supplements, especially in the beginning, sometimes is what it takes.
Yeah, because I tried the nasal sprays and but I am feeling, better when I do take them. It's just I still have that naked itch. Yeah.
Yeah, and so spread them out during the day and take more and then see if you start to get some relief. But it's a good sign that you're seeing some benefit already.
Yeah, it's some benefit, and I know it's just allergies. I don't know if it's the cold air or what, but it's just really snowing here in Utah. But another improvement I did, or a change, is I bought a pair of size 16 jeans about a year ago, and I just now got into them. I haven't really been weighing myself because I'm seeing more when I go down in size in clothes. So,
Yeah, excellent. Love to
Yeah.
hear that. So, yeah, that was a great question on the supplements. That goes for almost every supplement we talk about. You can up dose on those. We don't talk about it a lot, but sometimes that's the way we solve some problems one-on-one. We're going to be right back. Stick around. This Road Dog Trucking News Update is brought to you by JB Hunt, Carrier 360. I'm Kevin Rutherford. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Road Dog Trucking Radio.
Driving coast to coast.
Sirius XM 146. Or listen on the Sirius XM app. Road Dog Trucking News with Mark Willis.
French President Emmanuel Macron has canceled a planned fuel tax increase after 3 weeks of nationwide protests that left 4 people dead and sparked the worst anti-government riot in Paris since 2005. A government leader told reporters that the president decided to get rid of the tax, while the prime minister confirmed to lawmakers that the tax is now abandoned in the 2019 budget. And a day earlier, the president of France announced that
In 1 mile, keep to the right on I-85 North. Left
the
curve
tax
ahead.
increase would be suspended for 6 months. But despite the government's concession, protest leaders have said demonstrations are likely to go on for quite a while, with trade unions and also farmers now joining the fray against Macron's increasingly unpopular policies, according to some. I'm Mark Willis, reporting right here on the Road Dog.
Road Dog Trucking News. Exclusively. XM.
Do you know the last time you replaced your toothbrush? I didn't. I also had no idea how long I was really brushing until I got a quip alert.
Rocco DeVonzo, Executive Vice President.
Is Road Dog Trucking Radio's Trucking Business and Beyond.
We are talking about business rates, money, taxes, accounting.
Tips, tricks, and financial strategies to help your business grow, make more money, and keep it in your pocket.
Use your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others.
And now, Kevin Rutherford on Trucking Business and Beyond.
Welcome back. I'm Kevin Rutherford. You know, I said at the beginning I had a lot to talk about, and I still have a lot to talk about. So it's the top of another hour. I'm going to talk a little bit, then we'll get back to your calls and questions. One of the things I had on my notes that I wanted to address
In 900 feet, keep to the right on I-85 North.
was the fact that keto is clearly becoming a lot more mainstream. In fact, it's becoming a fad. Let's just tell it like it is. I don't want it to be a fad for people. I think it is going to be a
Left curve ahead.
fad for the population in general. I hope not, but we have to look at history. Things like this normally don't last. Paleo was an awesome diet, and paleo is fading away kind of as a fad and being replaced by keto. I don't know what's going to come next. Maybe it'll be the carnivore diet. Who knows? But keto's hot right now. I hope it stays that way. It probably won't. But in the meantime, there's also a downside to it becoming mainstream. You see lots of companies trying to take advantage of it by creating keto products. And if you see keto on the front,
In a half mile, keep to the left on I-85 North, and then keep to the left in 680 feet. Left
people
curve
will
ahead.
always turn it over and read the ingredients. I don't care what they put on the front. In fact, the more things they put on the front of the label, usually the worse the food is. Gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, non-GMO, keto, paleo. They could put all those things on the front. It could have every one of those statements, and it could be absolute garbage. It probably will be. The more buzzwords they put on the front, usually the worse the food is. There are exceptions. We seek out those companies that produce really high quality keto foods. We are going
In 700 feet, keep to the left on I-85 North and then keep to the left in 680 feet.
to continue to do that. We're going to do more of that, as a matter of fact. We may be producing some of our own foods here soon. But we will make sure
5 North.
advantage of this. The other trend I'm starting to see a lot of, though, is that groups that really didn't want to embrace keto for whatever reason are kind of being overwhelmed by the evidence that this really works. That's why it's becoming popular. That's why people are sticking with it. For years, and for some people now decades. It works, and the
Continue on this road for 6.0 miles.
evidence is overwhelming. So now they're kind of changing their tune. Now the message I see a lot of is, well, yes, keto is good for losing weight or for this, but it's not healthy long term. Bullshit. If it's healthy short term, there's a pretty darn good chance that it's going to be healthy long term. And even if you don't want to eat keto long term, I do. I have figured out that it works best for me by far. But even if you don't, that doesn't mean you just give up the whole concept and go back to eating the way you used to. We have talked for a long time about transitioning. If you don't want to stay keto, after you reach your weight goals and your blood sugar goals and you get off all the medications, and if all those things happen that are so good, then why would this be bad long term? Carbohydrates are not necessary for your body. There is nothing about a carbohydrate itself that we need. You could live with zero carbohydrates. And that's a stretch because so many foods have them, but we don't need any carbohydrates. We might need some of the nutrients that come in foods that have carbohydrates. And by allowing more carbohydrates into the diet, we do give ourselves more options for food, but I would never transition out of eating real food, out of eating nutrient-dense food. So yes, we talk a lot about nutrient-dense keto, but really our overall goal is to eat real food. Even if you're eating 150 grams of carbohydrates a day, if it's all real food and it's working for you and you're maintaining your weight and your blood sugar, then absolutely eat that way. For me, I know 150 grams of carbohydrate does not work. I will gain weight. I don't care if they're all real food or not. I'll gain weight. I won't feel as good. I know it. Everybody's individual. But this idea that I keep hearing, two things. One, keto, yeah, you may get results, but it's not good for you long term. That's BS. And two, well, I was told I can't do keto because I have heart disease. I was told I can't do keto because I have kidney disease. I was told I can't do keto because I have liver disease. That's really bullshit. The reason you have those things is because you are eating the standard American diet. The fix to those things is real food. For the rest of your life, not just for a little while. This isn't good for you in the short term. Well, it is, but not only in the short term. This is the way the human body should be eating. The fact that it works so well and gets such amazing results should tell us something. It's not just short term. Eating real food should be the rest of your life. You decide where your macro balance should be, and you do that over time by experimenting. We do know that when you want to lose weight and you want to get your blood sugar under control, we can focus on those two things. You should be very strict keto. The more strict you are, the lower carb you go, the better results you will get. We see it over and over. There are some exceptions. Sometimes we have to add some carbs back in to help people over a roadblock, things like that. But for the most part, the lower you go with your carb count, eating real food, the quicker you will see weight loss and blood sugar control. For me, I also know that the inflammation and the joint pain that I get will happen to me even if I'm eating real food, but my carb count gets a little higher or I don't watch the quality of my food. That's why I know I get really, really good results from strict keto. So we're going to keep hearing more and more of that. You can't do keto because of this. Look, of course you can. It's just real food. We should be telling people you can't eat the standard American diet if you're overweight. You can't eat the standard American diet if you have heart disease. You can't eat the standard American diet if you have kidney disease. You can't eat the standard American diet if you have liver disease. But doctors don't tell people that. Why not? If they're so concerned about food doing damage to our body, which it can, why are they telling people they can't eat real food? But they're not telling people stop eating the standard American diet, which is what got us here. So we're seeing that. We're going to continue seeing more of that. We'll try to be the voice on the other side of this, helping you out. All right, I'm going to get back to your phone calls. Let's head off this time to North Carolina. Bill, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing, Kevin? Thanks for
Good.
doing everything you do for us. Hey,
Well,
my wife is this person that thinks that you need to go on low fat and everything. And I've been on keto for 4 months, and I went from 200 down to
In 1.5 miles, keep to the right on I-85.
185. I'm slowly bringing it down because I'm 5'11". My ideal weight should be 175. Now, she sees me what I'm doing and she sees results, but she's so adamant thinking that because I fry my eggs in bacon grease, I am a butter, I do everything, and she uses margarine, and I'm just like, why are you doing it? Oh, it's expensive, and our food bill's gonna go through the roof. And I keep telling her, I go, you are one stubborn mule. I love you to death, but you're stubborn. But how can I convince her that this stuff actually works? And I challenged her. I go, at the beginning of the new year, you wanted me to make changes. I made changes. Now you're going to go to my changes. I want to do her a 30-day keto challenge.
Okay.
And
that's it. Maybe stop calling her a stubborn mule. That might help.
She calls me stubborn, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I'm kidding. So
Yeah.
I heard one thing in there that we might want to focus on, but I need to know if there's more. One of her. Go ahead.
Kevin, she's got arthritis. She's got blood pressure problems. She takes medicine for it, and she's got a thyroid issue.
Okay. So how old is she?
She is 42.
Okay. So I heard one thing in there that was a concern. It was the cost. So we do want to address people's concern.
In 1,000 feet, keep to the right on I-85.
To try to help them get past it. So you might just have to do a little work and show that on your way of eating, that even though butter is more
Continue on this road for 3.4 miles.
expensive than margarine, and grass-fed steak is more expensive than, conventionally raised meat or not eating meat at all, that the numbers really are a little deceptive till you look at it. Most people, we see this across the board, end up spending less. You eat less food is one of the biggest reasons. So you're just going to have to kind of work through her with the numbers. But that's actually an easy one because it's math, and math is just math. The harder things to overcome could be her fear of that. That's much more difficult. It's hard to put hard proof in front of her other than results. But one of the things you could focus on without being overwhelming is the fact that she's 42 years old. She's listened to that standard dietary advice for her whole life, and where has it gotten her?
Mm-hmm. Because I used to have arthritis, and 4 months after keto, I don't have joint pain whatsoever. I know what works for me, and I'm sticking with it. And I just worry about her because I want her to be around for a while and not have these issues because diabetes runs in her family, and I'm trying to prevent a lot of this stuff.
Would she be willing to read or listen to just one book?
Oh, yeah, she loves reading.
Excellent.
She's a book fanatic.
Stop trying to convince her yourself, because you, believe it or not, you're the last person she's going to listen to. And that's just human nature. That's close relationships. It's hard to make this happen. If you talk to any practitioner, they will say, I help hundreds or thousands of people every year and I can't help my own family. And that's just the way it is. And we have to understand that. Get her books. Buy her a book every time she finishes one. Go buy her another one. I would say, for somebody in her position, I would start with the book Eat the Yolks.
Okay.
It's by Liz Wolfe. It's
In 1.5 miles, keep to the right on GA 316 East Lawrenceville.
really, really good first book for somebody who is skeptical. It's written by a woman, that helps. She is an NCP. She's a great NCP, Liz Wolfe is. Her writing is really light and kind of funny, and she takes all of the topics we talked about, whether it's eating fat or digestion or real food or autoimmune diseases, and like each chapter is dedicated to a different topic, and she makes it really easy to understand.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, one more question before I go. There's a farm here locally that has grass-fed, grass-finished beef, pork, and free-range chickens, but they're charging close to $6 a pound. What's your take on that price?
You can find cheaper in certain parts of the country. You might find $4.50 or $5 seems to be kind of the bottom for the most part on really high quality meat. I pay about $9 a pound because I tend to get all of mine from mail order.
In a half mile, keep to the right on GA 316 East Lawrenceville.
Farms that I trust and I know, and it's more convenient for me. I could certainly travel around locally and negotiate for half a cow or a quarter cow, and I could cut my cost way down. But for me,
in a quarter of a mile, keep to the right on GA 316 East Lawrenceville.
$9 a pound is not a big deal. I mean, so I'm willing to pay the extra for convenience. So $6.50 a pound is not bad. It's not the lowest price you're going to find, but I'd pay it.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate it, and thanks for everything you do for us.
Continue on this road for 9.9 miles.
You're welcome. I'm going to get to a break. We're going to come back. We have lots more today. Don't go away. 888-876-2336 is the number to join us. Stick around. You're on Destination Health. I'm Kevin Rutherford.
Here's what's happening on Sirius XM Sports.
A big day in college football, starting with the 119th Army Navy game at 3 Eastern time. ESPNU Radio has the play-by-play on Sirius XM 84. Then at 8 Eastern, the Heisman Trophy presentation, also on ESPNU Radio. Your 24/7 home for college sports, Sirius XM Channel 84, and on the Sirius XM app.
Sirius XM Sports. Wherever you are, your team plays here.
For P150, P150GA.
Your drone in Wacka. Got it. Health. The show where we talk about your health on the road. We'll take your calls and answer your questions about food, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, stress, and more. Call us now at 888-8-ROAD-DOG.
Welcome back. We're going to get right back to your phone calls. We are off to Pennsylvania. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hi, good afternoon, Karen. Kevin, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I got a couple questions for you. First, my wife, we go to the same doctor. We got our blood work back last week, and her A1C was like 8.7. Her cholesterol was through the roof. Blood pressure was 180 something over 130, and they have her on Lipitor and lisinopril and metformin. But last week you were talking about berberine.
Yes.
Would that help her lower her? She just started the keto diet, right after she got her numbers.
So this is a good example of the difference between the medical approach and the nutritional approach. You mentioned she has high blood sugar, high blood pressure, and lousy cholesterol.
Yes.
The medical community treats all of those three things like they're separate. They have a drug for the high blood sugar. They have a drug for the high blood pressure. They have drugs for the high cholesterol, and they treat them all as though they're three different things. They're not.
Right.
There is one root cause to all three of those problems. Those are what we now refer to as metabolic syndrome. They are 100% related to what she eats. All three. That is the root cause. So the way to treat all three is to work on the root cause. Now, your first question, will berberine help? Not if she doesn't change her diet. None of these supplements or these superfoods or all these things we hear, cinnamon lowers blood pressure, and this can help control blood sugar, and apple cider vinegar does this, and those are all great, and there's truth to them. That's why they become popular. But I can promise you that she could eat every superfood on the planet, but if she's still eating the standard American diet, she's not going to solve the problems. Would berberine help? Okay. Yes, it will, but nothing will help as much as fixing her diet first. Now, you said she went to keto. Excellent. Now, if she's eating keto, absolutely, some of these other things can help. Berberine is a pretty amazing supplement. Sometimes I don't want to talk too much about certain things because they almost sound like they're too good to be true. Berberine, for whatever reason, helps a lot of things. So, yeah, I would add it. It's part of several of our kits now because we know it works really well for a lot of things. But I always want to make sure people who are listening understand what I'm saying. If you're not going to change your diet, don't buy any supplements. In my opinion, they're just not worth it. If you're willing to change your diet, do that first, because that's going to be the biggest positive change you could make. Then there are very targeted supplements we could help with that really improve things. Does that make sense?
She's done that. Yeah, it does make sense. I told her about the kit, and of course, reading online, you can have everything from A to Z on what it does or doesn't do for you. So I told her about the kit. She goes, I'd rather get the kit from Kevin because we trust him versus some Joe Schmo pharmacy shop. So I had a weight loss surgery back in June. So I pretty much stuck to keto. My carbs are under 20 a day. My protein, the doctor has me between 50 and 60 grams of protein per day. I have a problem with digesting the fat to get my fat count up. And also, I haven't had sugar since May before my surgery. But my A1C come back as 5.7. They said I was pre-diabetic, so they had me on metformin and lisinopril. And my sugar was 103, and they said they wanted it under 99. But I haven't had sugar in my diet at all, so I just wonder what might be causing that.
Here's one of the problems we run into with the medical community. All of their numbers, everything about their numbers, whether it's cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure, we could go on and on and on, they're all based on people eating the standard American diet. And they're all so ingrained to those numbers that they can't think differently ever. One of the things we know. Now, let me go back to my example. I was never even close to being diabetic. I have never really eaten a high carbohydrate diet, talking about 300 or 400 grams of carbs a day. That was never my diet. I don't like sweets all that much. I did eat bread and pasta. So I was not even close to being diabetic or pre-diabetic. When I went full-blown keto, most doctors would have interpreted my numbers, my individual blood sugar numbers, as being pre-diabetic because my fasting blood sugar for a long time stayed up around 115 or 120. It's called the dawn effect, and it happens when we eat very low carb. Now, over time, mine has come down to the point where it's usually in the mid-90s for fasting, about 95, although some mornings it's 110. Prior to going keto, my fat used to be in the low 70s. So some go, oh my God, you made things worse. No, I didn't. We're looking at the wrong set of metrics. We know that sugar in the blood doesn't really start to cause damage to the body till it's over 140 for extended periods of time. So even though my fasting went from low 70s to 115 and now mid 90s, none of those numbers are over 140. And there's nothing there to cause damage, even if I stay at 110 all day. So what? It's not hurting anything. And what happens is I tend to go down during the day. I tend to end up in the 80s later in the day. But I never, I shouldn't say never, very, very seldom will my blood sugar ever go under 140. Thanksgiving meal, which is where I kind of, probably eat the most carbs all year, because I'll eat, like this year I made a sweet potato hash. I ate some plain, mashed potatoes and had some dessert. And it was all real food. It was all nutrient dense. It wasn't keto. My blood sugar still only goes to about 150 something an hour after a meal like that, because of 4 years of keto, and now my blood sugar control is really strong. I have a very good insulin response. So the problem is the traditional medical community doesn't understand that. So even though you are moving far away from being diabetic, they look at that fasting blood sugar number and they want to put you on a drug.
That's what they did too. I haven't taken it because I haven't. I listen to your show. I am a driver, but I've listened to your show, and it's like, you know what? They might prescribe it to me, but I don't have any of these symptoms.
Exactly.
I'm not groggy. I have my energy. I'm not taking a nap in the daytime. Of course, I've lost 108 pounds since the surgery, but I'm not taking these stuff. I thought, they could give it to me, but I'm not going to.
And that's your
prescribe to their
and that is your choice. You're using. We have to remember the whole medical community is kind of overwhelmed too. That they're pushed by insurance, they're pushed by regulations, they're pushed by the American Medical Association, they're monitored by the American Diabetic Association, they're threatened with lawsuits. They have to stick to what they're told to stick to. It's a heavily regulated industry. You, though, as an individual, you don't have to listen to anything they say. It's your choice. You can read and do your own research and testing, which is what you're doing, and figuring out what works for you. You could find functional medicine doctors. You have all of those options. They don't.
In 1.5 miles, slight left on Hurricane Trail.
I don't even blame the doctors anymore. It's the system. If they don't prescribe that drug to you, they're threatened with malpractice.
That's true. Now, about the being able to keep fat down, is there anything I could do to increase my fat?
Have you tried any of our Jumpstart or digestive kits?
Not yet. That's the next phase.
That's where I would start. And you want to do a round of the Beta Plus, which
Speed limit change possible ahead.
The bile salts. Even if you have your gallbladder, we always recommend starting with the heavy artillery, which is the Beta Plus for digesting fats. And the digestive kits that we have, and we have a couple different, you can go look at them. If you're not sure, you can always call. We can help you with it. Any of them work. That's the good news. We have multiples because some people are suffering more from SIBO or leaky gut. Some people need better fat digestion. But try one of those with the Beta Plus, and that should really get the fat digestion going for you.
Okay, well, I appreciate all your help, Kevin. I mean, it's definitely given me something not to follow there.
In a half mile, slight left on Hurricane Trail and end, turn left in 350 feet.
Like I said, their suggestions and to go by what my body tells me. So I appreciate what you do for me then.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Right. I'm going to get to a break. We are going to come back and get to more of your calls and questions right after this. Stick around. You're on the road, Doug.
In 0.2 miles, slight left on Hurricane Trail and end, turn left in 350 feet.
Sirius XM 146.
Individual results. Meteorologist Ken Boone here at the Weather Channel with it. It's Destination Health, the show where we talk about your health.
In 300 feet, turn left on Hurricane Trail and then approaching the destination on the right side in 920 feet.
On the road, we'll take your calls and answer your questions about food, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, stress, and more. Call us now at 888-8-ROAD-DOG.
Welcome back. We're going to get right back to your phone calls. We are off to California. Jesse, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, can I start off with a couple of success stories?
Sure.
All right. About 18 months ago, when I was living in Kentucky, I contracted Rocky Mountain spotted fever, of all things. And I've been suffering from FLS for the better part of the whole time. I got real strict on the keto, and I say I'm feeling really good. And then, better than that, my wife has had an eating disorder for over 20 years. I've known her since I was 9. And she had to go to an inpatient clinic, and they told her she was going to die if she didn't change her eating habits. And she didn't really change anything, so I got really into this. And I'd just like to say that she's eating really good and healthy now.
Excellent. Love hearing those stories. I never get tired of them.
Yeah, now I'm going to be going through the NTC in February. And then my other question was, I'm reading the case against sugar, and I haven't got that far through it. My mom's under the impression that just because cane sugar is in its process, that it's good.
So this is a tough one. It's not that it's good or bad. It's the amounts. So sugar occurs in nature. So
approaching destination in 800 feet on the right side.
I'm not completely against sugar. I want it as close to its natural state as possible, which is the way I want any food. Of course, we're going to process some things. We're not going to run around in the woods, knocking bunnies over the head and eating them raw. We'd be healthier if we did that, but we're not going to. There is going to be processed food in our diet. We want it to be...
You have arrived at your destination on the right side, 445 Hurricane Trail.
Minimally processed. We always want to seek out the least processed food possible. White cane sugar has been processed. It doesn't grow like that. And nutrients have been removed, by the way. We actually use what's left over from that process of creating white cane sugar as a better sweetener, which is molasses. You put molasses back in white sugar, you get brown sugar. But the molasses actually has nutrients. All the minerals were in that part of the cane. The white is just pure sugar. It's kind of like brown rice is bad for us because it's got a lot of proteins and all that other stuff on the outside that we don't want. When you refine it down to white rice, it's just pure starch now, which, believe it or not, is actually better. Because in the rice, there are things we actually want to get rid of. So that talking about sugar is always a tough issue. Sugar occurs naturally in lots of foods. I mean, in some cases, even in